Yeah, it's a bit teasy. As promised, at the end of this, towards the end of my last video, I'm going to do a quick showcasey type thing of past, previous, present and upcoming, which work better in my head, as these things always do. Of stuff that I've done since I was 15, which is when I got this thing, which I picked up from a shop in Oldham when I was 15. I used to play for Oldham Athletic youth team in the football. And one night after practice, or one evening after practice, the shop was still open. He was having a closing down sale as well. So I genuinely don't think this guy's there anymore. And for the life of me right now, I can't exactly remember where he was to begin with. I just know it was in Oldham. And you have that on sale. For the life of me, I genuinely can't remember exactly who made the kit. I have a feeling it's AMT Ertl. I'll stick a thing here again. But it's been built, rebuilt, built again, fallen off a shelf, rebuilt, repainted at least 40 times, easily. Because I was never happy with him. And if you look very, very carefully, if I can get the light balance right, you should be able to see a very, 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 very early pin wash attempt. So it's lighting out. Got white balance everywhere again. It's great. And very, very early pin washes attempts. Wonderful. Yeah, so that was when I was 15. Quickly followed by this thing. But let's get you back up there. There we go. Which I think I gave you a quick tour of in episode 9 of the ATS ST build. Chicken Bonds. Chicken Bonds, that's what we called him. So ATST is a bit of a mouthful. And again, it's a very, very early attempt at weathering, which is done with a sponge, which was actually my dad's car washing sponge. Sponge, great word. Sponge. So snap together kit, and again, I genuinely can't remember who made it. I don't know if it tells you under here. No. I think it was another AMT Ertl kit. I do believe. I'm just going to say there, going off reference photos I had at the time, I've actually tried to replicate the different shades that make up the X-Wing. And of course you have to do them as a Red 3, because everybody does Luke. Yeah. I got this at about the same time as well. Again, not too sure who made the kit. It's all a bit hazy now. It's a very, very long time ago. It's 25 years ago. And this is another one that's been painted and repainted and painted again. Because I was never happy with the original finishes. I'm going to have to do the sound effects, aren't I? What is you can make out there? It's a ball and socket type thing. It goes with one of these. I do remember breaking the stand for this one when I was about 18. I've got to do the sound effect. Look at the dust on them. I know, shocking it really is. If anybody's familiar with Central Manchester, I've not actually been down that way for a long time. There used to be a model shop on Deansgate called the Model Shop, funnily enough. It led to me being practically a resident in that place for quite a length of time. That's where these things came from. And if anybody's familiar with Altrincham as well, the old Beatty's shop, used to spend a lot of time in there too. Oh dear. Yeah, I need to take care of these properly. Being so old, I think my brother built this one. He's slightly younger than I am. being so old, the glue's decayed, and it's the old, the really old Airfix glue as well that we used on these. So the suspension's all broken and stuff like that, so at some point I do have to get around to repairing that, as well as dusting it. Can I write your name in that? That's shocking. And then we had a phase of Tamiya cars. Tamiya? Hold on, where's the other one gone? There we go. There he is. Carlos Sainz. Whatever happened to him? That fella. And then started doing things like that. And of course we got the old Ascot Cozzy, which should have been a rally car, but we decided against it. And we went with, I believe, that's Tamiya's metallic blue. Something like that. Really basic builds, really basic paint jobs. And I started thinking to myself, I'm not very good at this. I can build it, but I can't paint it. It's really basic, all brush painted. So I decided to get into the figures painting side of things on the recommendation of a friend. Just bear with me another second. I've had one of those moments. Where I had something laid out for you, and for the life of me, I don't know where it's gone. Never mind. Yeah, I went into figure painting. I started building the 35 scale Tamiya kits. I don't know if you can make that out. Originally he was German grey. German grey green. And then I decided to make him a bit of a nasty fella. And he was actually holding binoculars, not a beer mug. Where's that gone? It's alright, panic over, found it. I can breathe again now. I had a collection of 1,000 figures at one point. So this thing, I'll probably do a video build of this again in the future. Because like I say, I'm going to remake it. It all connects together. And it's all very swanky in how it does it. Which is something along the lines of that. It develops into a bogey, but as you can see there, it snaps off at the end. This is another one that's been painted and repainted a million times. Because I never could quite get the finish right. I was never happy with it. Even the support arms go up and down. And this led to my fascination with World War II stuff. Just very quickly do that. That's the general idea. It runs back into a bogey. And then you can separate it. Oh! Have it in the firing position. It's a fully functional working gun. Or it was. That actually, the cannon part actually slides back and forth. Until I painted it through. Painted it over even. And that came with, I think it was 10 figures, something like that. And it led me into the diorama side of things, which again I wasn't very good at, and I had a few friends who were into the Games Workshop stuff, tabletop gaming and things like that, and I headed off that direction. Oh! I started knocking out most of it, given away and sold on, but I ended up doing stuff like this. I'm beginning to add camouflage nets to stuff I was building. And I'm doing very basic pin washes with black markers. As you can see there, to detail the paddle lines. Under there somewhere is a very basic dry brushing as well, I think. I could be wrong. Oh, you'd know he was there, wouldn't you? Oh my word. Oh! And then the first figure I was really happy with was this boy. Yeah, he's a bloody good cleaning. If you have a look in there, it's the first time I started using washes. And this part here, there's a pointy stick, you'll do. No you won't, you'll do. Oh dear. And this, on the other end, I've still got the ATSC pilot, never mind. In there, here's the first time I did a wash to emphasise detail and things like that. And yes, I would repaint this again because I was never happy with it. There's a theme developing here, and a very early attempt at blending, which I didn't quite get right either. You see we go from the white into a light grey, into a dark grey, into a darker grey. Didn't quite get the blending right, but from a distance, don't sing it, kind of looks okay. And then eventually we headed into the mid to late 90s, and there was a fella from Sheffield started running around going, "My name's Sharp, see what you can do," no too, and all that kind of stuff. And he had the ladies swooning, including my fiance at the time. This is one of my very first attempts at fine detail work. You know, slightly larger scale. I think this works out to about 32 scale. And hopefully you can see in there highlights for the first time. So I'm actually starting to work on the fine detail stuff now. Make things look a little bit more realistic. This was all done in acrylics, which were a complete mystery to me, because at that point I was still working in enamels and getting it completely wrong because nobody actually taught me how to use enamels and things like that. So newfangled technologies came along. I can wait for a minute. And then I started work on landscaping with a chunk of rock I found on a beach. I think it's slate actually, that isn't it? Yeah, slate. Again, as you can see there, I'm working on extreme highlights on the edges of the panels. Lost my pointy stick again. Where's Ted when you need him? Nope, it's gone. Better enough, there you go. So right on the extreme edges there. Using a ridiculously contrasting colour to pick out the highlight. It's a bit wobbly. I think I was drunk at the time, to be honest. More than likely was back then. It's actually supposed to be that kind of effect, but the super glue's failed in that back wheel now. Ooh. Yeah, that's the boiler that the gas man keeps telling me is fixed, and it's not. It keeps doing that noise. Yeah. Oh, knocking stuff over now. Bloody gas man. So yeah, dabbling with this kind of stuff. Lost my train of thought then. And then I started going back to model making. Proper model making. Instead of gable top. Yeah, that stuff. Because I was slowly becoming more and more confident with how I do things. And it's still very basic, but look carefully. There is a pre-shade. Can't get my lighting right today. Do apologise. Let's try that. Nope, can't get my lighting right. There's a very basic pre-shade in there somewhere. What's that? dear. So we're slowly evolving. Not quite quickly enough for my liking, but we're getting there. And then I went away and did some real life stuff, and then I completely goosed my left knee up. And it took me the best part of 2 years almost to learn how to walk again. And so I refocused my efforts whilst I was rehabilitating. And I came across this fella in the window of a model shop in Aberystwyth while I was on holiday, with a very, very, very yellow box, because it had been there most of the summer. And the bloke who owned the shop, I'd got to know over the course of the week. Dear, you are dusty, aren't you? And we kept having a chat, and he kept trying to persuade me to buy something from him, as these people do. And I was having none of it. And then my last day in Aberystwyth, he said, I'll tell you what, that thing should be £60. It's been in the window all summer, I can't get rid of it. The box is all yellow, where it's dried out in the sun. I will give it you for £30. Get off. Huh? I made a stay arm. I made that. So I thought about it, and I kept someone in our in, and I said, right, I'll be back in half an hour. And I went back in half an hour, bearing in mind I'm on crutches, I'm on my own. I went back after half an hour, and I said, right, I'll have it. I had a taxi waiting outside, and he put it in the car for me, and then off we went, back to the caravan site. And I got back involved with the hobby for the first time in a long, long time. Now, this is one of those things where I've got 90% through, and then because it's taken so long to get to this stage, I've got disheartened with it, and I've put it down and I've left it. And it's been like this now for 10 years, something like that. I will finish this. This is my mission for the summer. I will finish this model. It's huge, it's massive. I do remember, what was it? It was right about here somewhere. The two halves just didn't mix the top fuselage. Actually laid together like that, and it just wouldn't meet. And yes, I learnt some new swear words. And it led to a fascination with big builds. Oops. This is Tamiya's 32 F16, 32 scale, use your words Tony, F16. If you've not built this kit, if you can afford this kit, I urge you to buy it. It is gorgeous. It is one of the best builds you'll ever make. It really is. It's gorgeous to build. It's one of those jobs as well where if it doesn't fit, you're doing something wrong. It's not the kit itself, it's that well engineered. And it is ridiculously detailed. Now again, my skills at the time were very, very poor. I had a very, very basic knowledge. So it's one of those things where I've built it, I've done it, I've painted it, and I've walked away. I've not really done any weathering to it at all, apart from a very quick and nasty pin wash that didn't quite work, and I was never happy with. But the kit itself is absolutely flawless. So if you've yet to build this kit, I urge you to do so. It's amazing. Go on, you went in there, you can come out. There's things like that as well, where you can display everything. The engine itself, you can either display it on a stand like this, or you can whack it in the back, and it is interchangeable. You can pick and choose. There's a pattern forming. Can you see it? Yep. Revell Tornado in 32. 132 scale even. which I didn't quite build properly because I can't turn the pods. Well, especially these two big pods in the inboard pylons, I can't turn them. So I can only display it wings folded. But I went back to enamels in an airbrush for this one. And I did quite a decent job with it, to be honest. I was quite happy with it. It's one of those that I found quite challenging to do at the time, but once I sat back and had all the transfers and decals and things like that on it, I can't quite move it properly because there's all kinds of glue failures. Let's see if I can get the underside shown. Yeah, I'll get around to the figures in the background in a second or two. Ooh, that is quite a delicate kit, this one. I've dropped it a few times. If you can see underneath, oops, difference in the quality compared to the top side, which really does need dusting. Scruffy moo. And I sanded the tyres down for the first time as well to show some realism. Again, it's lacking in pre-shades and post-shades and stuff like that, and weathering, and dirty great big seam lines everywhere. You can probably see it in that drop tank there. And for some strange reason, that tail never did sit right. At the time I remember thinking, yeah, that looks okay, but looking at it now, it's like a huge bump. It's huge. Let's drop this back in there. Let's get that back on the shelf before I fall over. Ooh, pit marks as well. In hindsight, that should have been filled. That pit mark. It was a decent kit. I enjoyed that one. And then I went through a phase where I went back to figure painting. I'm actually going to repaint this one at some point, and I'll do a tutorial on figure painting, because as good as he looks, I was never happy with it. You can see all kinds of brush marks and stuff like that, because I used Tamiya paints for this, which I don't normally use. It was the first time I tried brush painting them, and unless you thin them properly, or I find at least anyway, they tend to go clumpy as the air dry. And it's nice. It's like, no, it's not. No, stop. We need 3D for this. And it's all a bit shiny and stuff like that, so never happy with that face either. It looks like a zombie. So at some point we will go back to this, and I'll do a tutorial, because I know there's a few of my followers, my subscribers, my friends, hello, who are absolutely terrified by figures. And they're not as bad as you think. They're really not. He's a bit zombified as well. Focus. This is one of the Verlinden 1/16 scale figures. He's resin. And the difference between resin and plastic, unless you're buying a Tamiya kit, because they are super detailed for plastics, you tend to get a lot more detail in resin. And I do remember at the time thinking, wow, he's awesome. He's literally held together with pins. Brilliant. But again, if I could do these again, which I would do, I can't quite remodel this now because it's in resin and it's in two-part epoxy, the glue. If you look at that seam there on the shoulder, I've just noticed it. I've forgotten all about that, to be honest with you. There's a dirty great big ridge there where I didn't quite line everything up. But I do like painting camouflage, I really do. Let me show this fella. Don't know what it is about Verlinden figures. Immaculately detailed, but they've all got this really gormless face. It's quite odd. Yeah, we definitely need 3D cameras. The detail in these figures is beautiful, it really is. You can really get some detail in there. with your brushing. It says knocking dust everywhere. You can't quite tell because the dust is ingrained in there, but there is a wash and a dry brush on that backpack. Lovely stuff. I need to go back to them big figures. I miss doing them. And then I took a break for a while, and then 2 years ago came back. These are the pride of my collection. This is where I finally was able to figure out how to do airbrushing properly. And I was so happy. And I really can't get my lighting right. Let's try that. We've got all sorts in there now. We've got pre-shades, we've got pre-shades, base coats, camouflage, freehand camouflage too, not masked, freehand. And we've got post shading, we've got hairspray chipping on the nose. Come on. Yeah, hairspray technique on the nose. What else do we have? Proper panel washes and post weathering and stuff like that. Oh, it's beautiful, beautiful. And Gunsmoke, which was achieved by running a very wet mix of XF1 very lightly through the airbrush. Show the people, Tony, that might help. And this is the first time, even though there's really dodgy seams, this is the first time I sat back and went, yep, I can do this. I can do this properly now. And this was all thanks to a fellow called Phil Flory, who teaches airbrushing. I bought a couple of his DVDs from his website, and off I went. Gradually, I joined his website. He has a forum. He does charge a fee for it, but I've learnt so much from them. Next in line was this fella. I love how that yellow turned out, I really do. It's absolutely glorious. I've finally figured out how to decal properly, thanks to Phil. And not panic and let it do its thing. I'll move that first Mustang out of the way so I can have some room so I can show you. It's getting a bit crowded. Who came next? Who came next? I think it was you came next. Now, these are from the Tamiya 148 collection, and they were dirt cheap, they really were. All of them around about, give or take, £17. And if you look really carefully, you'll see a first attempt at an oil wash, and that is thanks to my captain, Fox, the model making guru, because it's around about this time he started building his Viper, which I'll get round to in a minute. I'll just carry on showing you these first. Make him the spit. For the life of me, I can't remember which marker spit this is. It's one of the early ones because it's in the earth colours rather than slate grey. Well, this is the point where I'm thinking, yep, I can definitely do this now. I'm no longer a weekend builder. Anything to tell me wrong. Right then, this one is metallizer paint underneath, and the whole fuselage was done like that with a little bit of overspray of olive drab. Because if you look very carefully, did a very basic hairspray chipping technique, which I will hopefully cover at some point in the future. And the don't shoot me markings are all brush paint. Thank you! Yay, coffee. Anyway, these don't shoot me markings were all masked off rather than being decaled on this kit. This was a Hasegawa kit, I think. The decals were shocking on that one and they kept ripping. Nothing doing my dodgy technique, honest. Anyway, Vipers. I'd already built my Viper by the time I saw Fox's video. And there was a video I stumbled across where the lad who was building it threw in some LEDs. Let's get a fresh battery. And the whole idea of this was build a diorama and then attach it to, it was going to be a lump of rock. I'll hopefully still have a picture that I can throw in here. It's inspired by a magazine article that I saw regarding a TIE fighter. Oh, do I get this right way around? Probably not. My dad's very noisy phone conversation. There we go. LED engines. Looks absolutely gorgeous, but if you look in the cockpit, let's get the lights off. Hey, I'm filming, don't bother me. So, anyway, still got a little bit of light leaking through in the corners because I had a bit of a whoopsie and I hadn't quite planned for the canopy going in because that's the Pegasus models. I can't remember if it's, I'll throw a link in here somewhere. It's their cockpit and there's all kinds of leaching through, so that still needs working on. That's why that's not finished yet, even though it's been a good couple of years since I first built this one. And then I stumbled across Mr. Fox's video where he started teaching how to build one of these and weather it properly, and I've been following that nutcase ever since. Yeah, I called you a nutcase. No, you're a hinge. Oh, you can go there. And then, so that's the Mobius Mark II. Closely followed by the Mobius Mark 7. Show the people. Again with LED tail lights. There we go. Engines even in blue, which is all very swanky. Let's get the lights on, show them this detail. I have a gimbal I can work on now. Yes, a gimbal. You're a hinge. Yeah, anyway. Again, airbrush blast marks. I'm hoping you can pick out there. We've got the base colour faded in some white, or a creamy colour at the edges of the panels with a panel wash and an Apollo. And that base there, still needs working on. That centrepiece needs to come out, but it's these things. Oh. Your display stand by Academy. And you can actually link these together, which is what I'll be doing at some point, because I've got the Mark 7. Show the people, Tony. The Mark 7. I've got the Mark 2 over there, and then I've got the Raider as well, which has been sat in the corner for the last 6 months. I've not been able to get round to it. Real life keeps getting in the way. And then I keep getting these things. I keep getting Fox shouting, build it! Do this! Do that! Oh, shush! You're a hinge. Oh! then we get this fella too. Now, if anybody's familiar with C-3PO, you'll know that he has a missing gold leg, and it's silver, because it came from this fella. And this bad boy is entirely done in alclad metalizers, painty things, which are very, very smelly, and you really do need to wear face masks and have very good ventilation and extractor fans and things like that, because it stinks. I love this fella, I really do. Now, if I had to do him again, which I am planning, I don't know if you can make out there in the skeleton frame, there's loads of seams and stuff like that, because I just wanted to build him and get him painted. So the seaming is absolutely terrible. You can see in the middle of that panel. I just wanted to get him built and painted and stuff like that. And then last year I got this fella. I literally spotted it in my emails of a seller that I follow on eBay, and it literally just posted it, and he posted it at the wrong price as well. It's a 32 scale, I think it was a G10 version, and as I was saying before, my battery rudely decided to fall off and die on me. I think this was the G10 version. It was brand new from Revel, and he was selling it at the 48 scale price, so I jumped on him quick before he could change his mind and update his system. So I got this for a lot less than it should have cost. I know, I'm terrible. The build itself was a bit of a shocker. Parts wouldn't quite line up with each other and things like that. I'll show you the underside now. I'll get to the undercarriage in a second, because it was the undercarriage where I had the main problem to start with, because the kit version, don't think I glued those in, did I? No. The kit version was really flimsy plastic, especially on the stalk and the spring mount. Get my pointy stick. You'll do. Right there. There we go, right there. And the sensor was really flimsy. And my scratch building skills are minimal at best, and I wasn't quite up to, especially for this scale, rebuilding that part. So I had a foray into aftermarket detailing sets. And that detailing set is actually for the G6 version of this plane, but it fits, because it's essentially the same kit. It's just the odd minor tweak here and there that converts it to G10. It's a challenging build, but I enjoyed it. And the other thing I had to do was the stumpy thing that came about there, that you had to put the propeller on. Flimsy as hell, and fell off. So big drill right the way through into the bulkheads. It's all the propeller on, but it actually looks like the actual cannon in the real thing. Diameter is a little bit iffy, but I don't care. It looks good. I believe there is a resin kit available for the G6 that goes in here to display the engine and stuff like that, but I didn't get around to buying that. It was a good kit. Otherwise, it's a good challenge if you're slowly building up from being a good builder into a proper builder. It'll be a good challenge for you, this one. And then I'll shift you there. I'd almost forgotten about this fella. I built this when I was 16, something like that. And again, it was one of those really nasty brush painted things that, yeah, plagued me in my early career. And then it became a bit of a tester for different techniques. If I flip round, I'll show you that. That's one of my very first airbrushing attempts, which was inspired by a magazine I had at the time. If I can find the magazine, I'll throw a picture in. If not, there'll be a minute's silence. But I really did enjoy that little challenge. It's iffy as hell, but on a shelf. Looks quite cool. More 88 rounds, even more 88 rounds, more 88 rounds.